So good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's webinar on Zanzibar and Zanzibar White Sands. This is going to be a slightly different presentation to the way I normally do it for Zanzibar White Sands, in the fact that it's going to be a bit more personal. I actually went to Tanzania and Zanzibar with my family in December and stayed at the property, and then we also went to Siwandu camp in Sulu, well now Nyerere, which is part of the Sulu Safari Company camp. And so you'll notice in this presentation there's a few more photos I've added in, which are slightly more personal, which I just wanted to really update you on what it was like to travel with family during these times, and also our experience on the ground whilst we were in Zanzibar. Now, obviously, things are moving so quickly that even since we came back, we landed back on Christmas Day, and even since then, particularly from the UK market, travel is even more limited than it was then. So we are all obviously hoping it's going to open up as soon as possible. But what I wanted to do is give you some insights into how it was really traveling as a family during COVID, because many of the experiences we had won't have changed by the time we are opening up to travel, in terms of the fact that, you know, when we were down there, it really felt very much like life was normal. It was leading up to when we went. We flew on the 10th of December, and the reason why we had booked to go is we had always planned for over a year to go in October half term, and we decided to postpone it back to December because, if I'm honest, there was absolute flexibility. We flew with Qatar Airways, who were brilliant. We only had to confirm our flight 48 hours beforehand. We had a very, very flexible ticket we'd booked back in October. The hotels we were staying at, obviously, were our clients. They were very flexible as well. So we thought, let's just hold it, let's just book it and hold it and see what happens. But leading up to it was quite nerve-wracking, I've got to be honest. We've got 3 children, aged 7, 10 and 12, in 3 different schools. And the rates of COVID were going up at that time, and as they unfortunately still are. So the likelihood of us getting a call from one of the schools to say, look, you have to self-isolate for 2 weeks was very, very high. So the children joked that I didn't tell them anything about where they were going. They hardly knew where they were going. They hadn't seen any photographs. I just wouldn't have believed it until we actually got on the plane. I didn't want to get them excited. I just literally played it really down until we actually got on the plane. But my goodness, it was worth it. It was so worth the stress leading up to it, because it was just the most amazing trip we've probably ever done as a family. Not least because we all desperately needed it, but also because when we were there in Zanzibar, it just felt worlds away from what was going on. Now, Tanzania, as I'm sure you know, have had a rather unusual approach to COVID, in the fact that I think it was the 14th of April, the president decided that there really was no COVID, and therefore they have taken a very different approach to other destinations in the world. But speaking to the locals, those cynics out there, those skeptics out there, speaking to the locals, the rates have been incredibly low. The hospitals are not overrun. They've actually, it's really Zanzibar in particular is very unaffected by it. So it's very bizarre, and we still don't know why. I don't think we will know why for quite a while. But what I want to talk to you about today is really what Zanzibar's like, what it was like as a family to travel, and obviously to tell you a little bit more about the Hotel Zanzibar White Sands. So first of all, Zanzibar is a tropical climate, so they have pretty much perfect all year round temperatures. The rainy season, the rainiest month is March and April. April's the rainiest month. But apart from that, it's pretty heavenly all year round. So it is just the most amazing place to go to. And one thing that I have always thought about Zanzibar is I've mistakenly always thought, particularly as I'm a real safari baby, I've always thought of it as a beach add-on to safari. But actually what I really realise about travelling at the moment, and this will, I think, will carry on for quite a few months, is that once you get to a destination, it takes you far longer to unwind than it does do from previous experience, because I hadn't realised quite how stressed I was by the whole situation. That having constant negative news everywhere is very oppressive. So it took me about 4 days to kind of unwind and actually feel like I was kind of a bit freer and just feel like the stress had been lifted. So I think for you guys selling destinations at the moment, don't underestimate how long it takes the clients to unwind from when they first land, because I think all of us have been through such a torrid year that the idea of, I mean, we'd initially planned to go to Zanzibar just for 4 nights. And then I extended it when our quarantine rules changed in the UK, and we actually ended up staying for 10 nights. 10 nights almost wasn't long enough. Like it was so good just to actually be somewhere and not be charging on too quickly, because it takes a long time to unwind when you've gone from a very oppressive, negative environment, which we're all living in at the moment. So just to be aware of that when you're planning the trips, is actually to just don't rush your clients too quickly when they first land somewhere. So actually getting there, the traveling process. So this is me and my family sporting these lovely our face masks, but obviously also the visors. So we flew, as I mentioned, with Qatar Airways, who were brilliant. And they give you all these visors when you land, when you check in, actually when you get to the gate. And they are much more comfortable than they look. It's amazing. It's like the mask. You quickly get used to it. We wore the paper medical masks because they're much lighter to sleep in overnight, as opposed to the lovely cotton masks that I actually have been selling over the last few months. But the paper masks are much more comfortable sleeping, and with the visors as well, it actually, was surprisingly comfortable. And the kids were fine with it as well. I think they quite enjoyed the fact they were wearing visors, and it was all very exciting for them. So then we landed in Dar es Salaam, and then we flew with Uruk Air across to Zanzibar. Again, Uruk Air, the team were fantastic. You felt very safe in the airport. There were all the protocols being adhered to. Dar es Salaam airport the international airport is new, and so you feel very comfortable. It's sparkling clean, and then we were transferred through to the domestic terminal, which is older, but actually is all the Uruk Air team were fantastic, and we had to obviously adhere to very tight COVID guidelines, but again felt very safe. And then when we landed in Zanzibar, we got met by the Zanzibar White Sands transfer, and we had our own little pack of antiseptic hand sanitizer and face masks, and obviously lovely chilled water and face wipes. So you felt what's nice about being picked up by the Zanzibar White Sands vehicle is it's sparkling clean, and you feel like you're in a very, straight away you feel very comfortable. We've come from an environment where we unfortunately are subliminally all quite anxious because of our surroundings and what we have to do. So actually to come when you're in a strange place and you're even more kind of anxious, it's really nice just to straight away feel that you're picked up by a vehicle, you recognize the logo, you feel it's an air-conditioned vehicle, you feel very, very comfortable straight away. So Zanzibar White Sands is located on Paje Beach, which is the southeastern side of Zanzibar Island. And it is the most beautiful stretch of beach. It's very well known for kite surfing, which is part of the reason why the hotel is there to begin with. The owners, who are a Polish family, are very, very keen on kite surfing, and they travel the world trying to find the best kite surfing beach, and they found it here on Paje Beach. What is lovely about kite surfing is, as a sport, it's silent. So if you're not into kite surfing, it doesn't affect you in any way. It doesn't intrude on your kind of privacy. It's actually very beautiful to sit and watch the kites just crisscrossing and going backwards and forwards. This is a beach. This star was taken from, it's like Christmas decorations from the beach restaurant. And it's just the most beautiful beach. It is tidal, like most of Zanzibar, it's very tidal, but you can still swim in the sea. And what's lovely is when the tide goes out, there's no seaweed. So it's actually very beautiful to see. And so it is a very, it's a very lovely beach. It's very quiet down our end of the beach because we're near the kind of end of the beach. But if you had a family or clients and wanted to go somewhere where it's a little bit more, wanted to go somewhere that's a bit busier, about 10 minutes walk up the beach is Pajeo Village, where there's quite a few different bars and some more kite surfing schools, and there's more of a kind of, more like a traveller vibe to it. So it's quite fun to walk up there and have a sundowner in one of the bars just up the beach, and that's like a 10-minute walk away. So the layout of Zanzibar White Sands, there's 11 villas in total, 5 one-bedroom villas, which is the first row of villas, 5 two-bedroom villas, which are the row behind, and then a 5-bedroom villa, which hopefully you can see my cursor is over here in the trees here. This building here is the kite surfing centre, or the water sports centre, where you can organise kite surfing lessons, but they also have stand-up paddle boards, kayaks, and they've also got a really cool bar. So it's a really nice place to go at the end of the day and have a sundowner and enjoy watching the kite surfers going backwards and forwards. So the staff, as is always the case with Africans, they are just the most friendly, lovely, smiling, beaming people, and it was just appreciated even more to see these lovely welcoming smiles. And it's obvious that they are just really generally happy to have guests, you know, back in the hotel. Zanzibar is actually, as a destination, is actually doing quite well at the moment. They've had a lot of travelers, people coming from the UAE and Middle East who are allowed to travel, because obviously in Zanzibar and Tanzania, you don't need a PCR test to enter the country. So a lot of the expat community that would normally have come to Europe over Christmas are actually using this time to travel to particularly Maldives and Zanzibar. So there's a lot of people from the UAE down there, also quite a few Russians as well. So and a real mix of nationalities. So it's great because it's actually quite a busy time for the island, which is just fantastic. On the left-hand side is our new manageress who joined 3 days before we arrived. So we were really a baptism of fire for her. Anne-Marie, and she has come from working as part of the sanctuary lodges in Botswana. So she's hugely experienced, and along with her husband, who is the executive chef at the property, are a real welcome addition to the team. And she was just amazing. So, and as you can see, all the staff wear these masks, which are much nicer because they're clear, transparent ones. So you actually see their gorgeous beaming smiles, which are so much nicer than the cotton ones that you can't see. You know, the lovely smiles. So Zanzibar White Sands, as I mentioned earlier, is family owned and managed, and it's owned by a lovely Polish family. So Natalia, the daughter, many of you may have met at trade shows, and she actually was out in Zanzibar last March when we all went into lockdown, and so she decided to stay there with her boyfriend, and she's been there nearly a year now. So normally she's only supposed to be there for 3 weeks, but she stayed a year, and actually I think she's really enjoyed the time. She's really set up some great initiatives while she's been there. She's actually worked with a lot of other hotels in the area that have set up a farmers a farmers market, but also a kind of a farmers kind of initiative where all the kind of suppliers come together, and then the hotels buy it through a cooperative. So the hotels will actually buy it through the cooperative. So there's some really great initiatives that she's got her, you know, stuck into while she's been out there, which has been brilliant for her, and really kind of you know, I think whilst it's probably been very hard at times, what more heavenly place to be stuck than, you know, Zanzibar. I've just had a quick question actually saying about PCR tests. Yes, you can. So obviously we flew with Qatar Airways, and you don't need to we didn't need to have a PCR test to fly on Qatar Airways, but other airlines you do. And yeah, that you can get PCR tests in Stone Town. I know quite a few people that have done it, and it's absolutely no problem. And it's, you know, it's quite quick turnaround. So yeah, it's very, very easy to get the PCR tests. So the villas, as I mentioned, there are 5 villas, 5 one-bedroom villas, 5 two-bedroom villas, and a 5-bedroom villa. And we also have what we call our deluxe rooms. So the deluxe rooms are sold in low and shoulder season. And effectively what we do is we split the individual bedrooms into their own unit. So for example, a 2-bedroom villa will then have 2 separate couples staying in there. And this is really something that we set up a few years ago, because we had a lot of demand for the 1-bedroom villas, and often the 2-bedroom villas were being taken up by one couple. And actually, to really maximize our bed stock in low and shoulder season, we decided to do this. And it has to be sold in the right way. The clients need to understand that they will be potentially sharing their private garden with another couple, but there's still, you know, the main swimming pool, there's still a beach, there's still plenty of private space. Each villa is spread over an area of 1,500 square meters. So they are absolutely enormous. And that's the key thing about Zanzibar White Sands. It's always about space and privacy, and somewhere that's very, very chilled, very you know, serene, and just very, yeah, the gardens are phenomenal. They've got 10 full-time gardeners for 11 villas. So they really do invest a huge amount in the gardens, and it shows. You can see it in this photo here. It's just beautiful. This main pool is at the back. The main restaurant, bar area, and swimming pool is actually at the back of the plot. And it's just, yeah, a beautiful spot to hang out. So as I mentioned earlier, the villas have 2 buildings. They have a separate bedroom and a separate dining sitting room area. And they all have their own big private garden and plunge pool and outdoor eating area. And the reason why each villa has its own plunge pool is because you can't always go swimming in the sea, because it is quite tidal. You can a lot of the time, but you know, they're aware that you can't always swim in the sea. So each villa has its own plunge pool. The villas themselves, this is my daughter Ella, who's 7. The villas themselves are linked through these lovely white paths with the gardens all around, and our kids just loved getting this little scooter and zooming around the paths, which they really enjoyed. And then this is our plunge pool we had in our villa. So the villas themselves are incredibly spacious. If I'm honest, as a family, we spent most of our time in the main pool because they just loved the being in the main pool. Got a quick question saying which rooms have direct access to the beach? All the 1-bedroom villas, they're on the first row. So the 1-bedroom villas have direct access to the beach, and the 2-bedroom villas are in the row behind. But it's like a 30-second walk down to the beach. It's not far to go to the beach at all. So each of the bedroom areas are spread over an area of 55 square meters. They're huge, and you can very easily, if you're traveling with young children, there's plenty of space to fit an extra bed in the room. They actually fitted, because we were in a 2-bedroom villa, so our kids were upstairs and we were below, and they put an extra bed in for Ella, our 7-year-old, and it was beautiful. It was like a small little 4-poster bed with a mosquito net, and she was chuffed to be staying in such a pretty little bed. So, but there was plenty of room for them. So yeah, the bedrooms themselves are enormous, and then obviously they have their ensuite bathrooms, and we also have an outdoor bathroom as well, which is really cool. So they have an outdoor shower and bathtub as well, which is very beautiful. All the rooms, all the 1-bedroom villas have a roof terrace with a sun lounger on top of the roof, and the 2-bedroom villas are effectively exactly the same as a 1-bedroom villa, but double story. This is the dining living room area. This area actually isn't air conditioned. The bedrooms are air conditioned. This area isn't air conditioned, mainly because of the design. There's like a gap between, you can see here, between the roof and the walls. So they actually can't have it air conditioned, but actually you open up the doors and the breeze comes through, and you don't need it air conditioned at all. This is the outdoor dining area, which we had one night, had our dinner in the villa, which was just magical. It was lovely. So these are the 2-bedroom villas, double story, the 2nd bedroom on top of the 1st bedroom, and accessed by this external staircase. Prior to staying there with our family in December, I was always a bit apprehensive about actually how it would work, with particularly for us, like having 3 young children in a separate room. But actually for our age kids and above, it works brilliantly, because we've got 3 kids aged 7, 10 and 12. I felt that particularly the 12-year-old was definitely kind of old enough and mature enough to let us know if there's an issue. We actually took walkie-talkies with us, which I would definitely recommend if you are selling to families. It's always worth taking some walkie-talkies, because again, when we went on safari, we were split into 2 rooms. My husband and I split, and then we had different kids in different rooms with us. But it was so useful to have a walkie-talkie just to be able to communicate between the rooms. So yeah, it actually worked really well having the children of our age. If they're younger, I would definitely want to have them in the room with you, and there's plenty of space, maybe not 3, but there's plenty of space to have them in the room with you. So then there's also a 5-bedroom villa, which has is its own separate in its own separate area. It's got a bigger garden, it's got a bigger swimming pool, it's got a hot tub, it's got a fully equipped kitchen. So they often have guests will take this out in its entirety, or as I mentioned earlier, it's also sold as deluxe rooms, which are separate in lower shoulder seasons. The rooms themselves are individually sold. This is the external area of the 5-bedroom villa. So you see this beautiful pool and balcony and hammock as well. All the rooms have hammocks, and they are very, very comfortable. I can ascertain that I definitely fell asleep in them more than 1 or 2 times when we were there. This is the lounge dining area of the 5-bedroom villa, and then the restaurants. This is our Doors to Zanzibar restaurant, but most people actually eat outside on the terrace, which just extends out from the restaurant, because it's beautiful. You're all under the kind of thatched roof with the greenery all around you. So most of the meals are actually taken out there. But obviously, being Relais Chateau, food is a big focus for Zanzibar White Sands. They've got an enormous garden where they grow a lot of the local, or their fruits and vegetables and spices. Zanzibar being Spice Island, a lot of their cuisine is really kind of showcasing the different spices of the island and the different produce of the island. It's Doors to Zanzibar is much more kind of almost fine dining, and then they have the beach restaurant, which is a much more informal, like lunchtime, more informal dining. This is two of the photos I took. They're not amazing, I'm sorry, but they're photos that I had of some meals when I was there. It's just amazing. The lovely, what I loved about the food there is actually there's plenty of it, but they're quite delicate proportions, I suppose, and they're so fresh. So you feel like you're not kind of absolutely stuffed to the whatever, which I can do sometimes. If you put food in front of me, I will eat it. Whereas this, it was beautiful food and it was so delicious, and yet you didn't feel kind of overfull afterwards.
So, and then this is Beach Restaurant, which is their more informal lunch restaurant as well. And then the lounge bar as well, which we met for drinks before dinner. And then they also have a rooftop sunset bar where you have sundowners as well. And a lot of the Zanzibar White Sands is very sustainably powered. All of the villas have their own solar panels, and they have wind turbines and water salination plants. They're very, very sustainably powered. No plastic bottles in the property. And again, you know, as I say, Natalia's worked really hard over the last year working with the local community in terms of setting up this farmers cooperative, and you know, they're amazing with what they're doing. So the activities, what do we do when you're there? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's an amazing kite surfing beach. And actually what's really lovely about kite surfing is that, as I mentioned earlier, it's silent. So if you're not doing kite surfing, it's not intrusive at all. It's very beautiful to watch these kites going backwards and forwards. It's good all year round, except for when the trade winds turn, which is basically May and November. And then you can do kite surfing lessons. You can book through the property. If your clients are going at peak time, I'll definitely book lessons in advance because they are very popular. And what's great is actually they also let our kids have a go as well. So it was a fantastic opportunity. We actually did it too late. We did it for our last 2 days, and I wish we'd done it earlier, because kite surfing it's quite tiring to learn, and you need to do it really over a few days. So it's not something you can just step into and do one lesson. You really want to do kind of over 3 or 4 days, because the first day you start off learning how to control the kite on the beach, which is what the kids were doing here. And then the second day, you go actually into the water. So what they taught you to do here is actually learning to control the kite, but also then you know, controlling it whilst in the water. So I've actually got a short film here of my 12-year-old, which I'll show you quickly. Hopefully it works. So you can see here what he's doing is he is supposed to be being dragged along. Don't worry, that's what's supposed to happen, is they're getting them to actually control the kite while still being in the water. And the idea is then the next stage, once they're competent with controlling the kite, they then step onto the kite board and actually go to the next stage of actually using the board. But it's perfect to learn here because A, it's very warm and shallow, so you can stand up quite a lot of it. There's a consistent wind as well, and it's also there's no tides. There's tides. Sorry, there's not many waves, so it's much easier to be able to control the board, which is why it's so good for kite surfing. And it's particularly good for beginners as well. So this is where Ella, my daughter, and I spent most of the time while the boys were kite surfing, on the beach bar and the water sports centre. So it's a very cool spot to stop and have a few cocktails while you're watching them kite surfing. They also have other water sports like paddle boards, and these are the kite surfing, obviously you have to pay to do, but the paddle boards and the kayaks are free to use. These are their clear kayaks, which are brilliant. This is my family all messing about in them. They absolutely love them. So that's really good fun to do as well. They've got a spa with 2 treatment rooms and the most heavenly masseuse who's just phenomenal. And so that's a very beautiful spot to go and just relax and have a lovely massage. They have a children's playground, they have a table tennis table, they have a trampoline, but they also have these little areas. These are some beehives, and also they have some rabbits as well that the children can go and see as well, which was quite fun, which you don't expect in Zanzibar. For those guys who can't stay away from the gym, they have an outdoor gym as well, which is fully equipped, and obviously the main pool. And then within your villa, every villa has its own butler who'll look after you the whole time. And what's a really clever system they had was actually we communicated by WhatsApp. So everything was done by WhatsApp. So during the day, you got sent your menu for the evening. You can then send your evening requests in. Anything you needed to know, you just communicated with your butler by WhatsApp, which meant that you were constantly in contact with him, but also you didn't have to have so much kind of direct connection with him if you didn't want to, in terms of being apprehensive about COVID. They also have, you know, laundry, they have transfer vehicles. I've got a couple of questions coming in here. Is there a dive shop? Okay, so diving, you can't do diving from the property itself through the water sports centre, but they do work with a dive company that can organise it. The dive sites are slightly further away from Zanzibar White Sands. And I'll also talk to you in a minute about our snorkeling experience as well, but that can all be organised through our reception or before you go. But they outsource the diving and the snorkeling experiences. So talking about snorkeling experiences, so this was something I was very keen to do, because I know that snorkeling in Zanzibar is great. And this was super easy to organise. The site was about 15 minutes from where we were. And they did it through a local operator who was fantastic. And they had all, we actually took the equipment from the Zanzibar White Sands Water Sports Centre, which I'm really glad we did, because the equipment was brilliant. And we did another snorkeling trip from somewhere else later on in our stay, and the equipment wasn't nearly as good. But it was just amazing. The water was so clear. It was brilliant because it was quite shallow. It wasn't too deep, so it wasn't too odorous for the kids. And they loved just what they could see, loads and loads of fish, loads of really good quality coral, which was very encouraging, and these beautiful starfish, which we found, and then obviously popped back into the water. Entertainment as well. Twice a week they'll have entertainments. They have live music. These are photos that I took, so they're not great, I'm afraid, but it gives you an idea of, they have live music, live Swahili music, and then they also have some Maasai show as well, which our daughter Ella was just absolutely transfixed by. And then also another must do is to go to Stone Town. I was very keen for my children to actually experience Stone Town and have a tour and learn. Particularly one of my children is learning about the slave trade as well, which obviously Zanzibar, Stone Town was the centre of the East African slave trade, the marketplace there. So it was absolutely fascinating. Again, Zanzibar White Sands organised for the tour company to come and pick us up and take us, and it was so engaging and humbling and just fascinating. Mohammed, our guide, was brilliant and really gauged it well with the kids, because it was quite hot and humid, but actually he made it very engaging and really kind of held their attention. This was a monument outside the old slave market in Stone Town, which was very powerful and very sobering, but really insightful and fascinating. And then, as is often the case with Stone Town visits, is you end up with a sundowner. This was actually at Apendo, which was a lovely, it's actually a beach property they've got, but this is their sister property, which is in Stone Town, which opened in June last year. And it's just a lovely little boutique hotel. I think they've got about 8 rooms, but they've got a lovely rooftop terrace with a little pool as well. And they do the most sensational cocktails. So I can highly recommend it. And I'll send you the details of that. A question saying, is it true that no one wears face masks in Zanzibar town? Look, a lot of people wore face masks. You can see my kids are wearing face masks. A lot of tourists wear face masks, but not all the locals do. No, I mean, there were not many locals wearing masks at all. And when you speak to them, they don't seem to have had much COVID. The hospitals are not overrun. They had a few cases back in March, April when they went into lockdown, but the reality is they can't afford to go to lockdown. It's a problem with a lot of places in Africa. You just can't afford to do lockdown when they actually need to go out and earn to put money, to put food on the table. So it is there's not many masks. It is bizarre, particularly coming from the UK, where everyone's wearing masks, to step into this other world where it seems to be on the surface COVID free almost. Jasani Forest, what was the name of the hotel in Stone Town? It's called Apendo. I'll send it in my follow-up. It was a great little place, and it's just a great spot and really good cocktails, which obviously is vitally important. Jasani Forest, we didn't actually go to Jasani Forest this time because I've been previously, but it's lovely. It's only 20 minutes away from Zanzibar White Sands, so it's a really lovely place to go and wander around and see the amazing array of monkeys they've got there. Prison Island again is a good option to do, which we didn't actually do, but one thing we did, which was literally down the road from Zanzibar White Sands, like a 5-minute drive, which we loved, was it's called Kuza Caves in Jambiani, and it's an underground cave, and it's a freshwater cave, so you can walk down and then go for a swim. It doesn't take very long, but it's lovely and cool and just really nice to go like 5 minutes down the road and go somewhere different. But also what was fantastic for the kids is they did this drumming workshop afterwards, which our children just absolutely loved. And again, if you're staying in Zanzibar White Sands and you've got kids, this is such an easy thing to do. It's 5 minutes away and very, very affordable, and just a really fun thing that they enjoyed doing. And obviously we went to the Rock Restaurant, which anyone going to Zanzibar must do. It is a restaurant built on a rock out to sea, and is you have to book it in advance. It does get quite full because it's not huge, and in low tide you can walk out there, and high tide you get a little boat to go out there, and it's just a really fun experience. The food is good. If I'm honest, I think it's quite expensive, but it is a tourist attraction, so you're paying more for the novelty really than you are the kind of, you know, fine cuisine and good price tag. But it is a really fun thing to do. It's only about 20-minute drive away from Zanzibar White Sands, and it's a really lovely little spot. So it's a fun excursion to go and do. And the kids just loved being on this rock in the middle of the sea. Also yoga, they can organise yoga at the property. And as I mentioned earlier, diving. You can also do swimming with dolphins. We actually went, after Zanzibar White Sands, we had extended our stay and we went up to Pongwe, which is a bit further north, near Nemba Island. So we actually went swimming with dolphins up in Nemba Island, which was amazing. But we had other guests who were staying at Zanzibar White Sands who had gone south and done the swimming with dolphins there as well, which was supposed to be amazing. The swim with dolphins, I think it has to be managed properly, because I particularly when we went to Nemba, when we first got there were quite a few boats around the dolphins, which I didn't like at all, and we left very quickly. And actually we were very lucky because we went to the other side of the island and we found a pod that were on their own, so we were the only boat there. So I think it has to be managed because it can get a little bit there can be quite a few boats there, so just as you're aware of that. And again, it is outsourced to a external company. So Zanzibar White Sands, whilst they can book it, they use an external company to actually operate it, and they're very reputable. But it's, you know, I'm just aware that sometimes you want to go really early in the morning to avoid the kind of the other boats. You can also do spice tours as well. There's a dhow tour you can do, and then again fishing, and also short safaris. You know, you can actually extend, if you had a client who wanted to have predominantly a beach holiday, they can spend most of their time in the beach, you know, in Zanzibar. And then actually when we were in Salou, Nyerere, there were quite a few trips that were coming in just for the day, which I think is ridiculous. But anyway, you can do it, you know, for 48 hours and then come back. But these guys were actually doing it for within a day, which is quite full on. But I think what the key thing is actually, previously to this time, I've always thought of Zanzibar as quite almost a beach add-on to a safari, and almost a kind of a shortest, you know, like 6-night stay. But actually what I really loved about this time, and I think particularly as we needed to kind of unwind from the whole global situation first, was we actually did a twin centre. So we spent 6 nights at Zanzibar White Sands first, then 4 nights at Pongwe, which is a really lovely little property a bit further north, brilliant for families, great beach. It's much more simple, it's much more rustic than Zanzibar White Sands, but just, you know, lovely. And it was so nice to be able to have that kind of almost twin centre in Zanzibar. And I was talking to an operator about this last week, because I definitely think there's enough to do in Zanzibar to stay a much longer time, and it's a really nice idea of actually doing a twin centre within the island. Particularly as different parts of the island vary so much. We went to Costa Azzurri for the day, and that again is totally different vibe, totally different view. It's facing the sunset, so it's really it's a great option to maybe twin with Zanzibar. Question saying, where did we stay again? Pongwe. I'll send you details of it. It's very lovely. It's very rustic. It's yeah, great for families, but it's a lovely beach. It was perfect for us, you know, to stay as an extension, because we were only planning to stay at Zanzibar White Sands initially, and then when UK quarantine rules changed and you could basically have to quarantine for so long, we extended our stay. But yeah, so rates. So Zanzibar White Sands, these are the rates. And we've actually changed our special offers slightly. So we're now offering a long stay discount. So for every 4-night or more, you get 15% off. And for stays of 7 nights or more, you get 20% off. We're also then still running the early bird 10% off offer and honeymoon offer, but I'll send these all to you in our rate sheet as part of the follow-up. And all the rates include a half-board meal plan, and they include the sauna and steam room and bicycle rental, and stand-up paddle boards and kayaks. So that is the end of the presentation. I'm going to just quickly go through the chat to see if I have missed anything else. Any other questions? PCR. Sarah, what percentage of staff are women? Do you support any local charities and initiatives? Yes. Do you know what? I don't know what percentage of staff are women, but I would think it's probably 50-50. There were a lot of, I mean, I think all the gardeners are male. There's 10 of them. And but from my experience, I'd say definitely at least half the waitering staff were women. Do they support local charity initiatives? Yes, they work with a couple of local charities. They work with a nearby hospital and also a school, which I can send you details of. How is the food at the Rock restaurant and service? So the food at the Rock restaurant is, as I say, it's good. It's quite expensive, but you're paying really because it's a tourist attraction and you're sitting on a rock in the middle of the ocean. How do clients get there? It's a 20-minute car drive, which Zanzibar White Sands can arrange. How much is it? I think it's like $20 or something. It's not much. Where are the questions? Any serious horseback riding for advanced riders on the island? Do you know what, Kirsten? That's a good question. And I don't know the answer to it. I have never seen a horse on Zanzibar, but I can definitely find out and let you know. Do you know the current turnaround time for the COVID test in Zanzibar? How do you get your results? Yes. My friend was there and I think she got them. I'll double check, but I think she got it within the day. I think she went like in the morning and then had a test, then spent the day in Stone Town and got a test and then came back. On excellent Tanzania, must you book COVID test online at least 5 days before departure? Do you know what? Again, I don't know this. I should know it, but we didn't actually have to do the COVID test, but I can definitely find out and let you know. I will definitely add my response about the horses to everyone's follow-up. Yeah, I think that's all the questions. I'll just quickly check. That was all the questions in the chat box. Oh, I've got a few in the Q&A. Comments from Anya about the COVID test, saying it took at least 3 days. Definitely not a problem. Definitely not that, because we had friends of ours who were out there who literally got it. They were flying 48 hours later. So I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure that it was very straightforward. And I also, I will find out from Zanzibar White Sands the reputable clinics they would recommend as well. Can clients eat in their villas if they want to be in real privacy? Absolutely. That's why they have a private eating area in the outside eating area, or they have inside as well, but the outside eating area in the villa. And it's lovely. It's really lovely just to be completely on your own and very private. Name the hotel in Zanzibar. I will forward that on to you. But thank you. I think that's the end of it, but thank you all so much for attending this afternoon. We are actually in the process of launching our new initiative called the Africa Hub, which I've mentioned before, but it's going to be an online resource with destination webinars. It's focused very much on destinations. So it's destination webinars, sample itineraries for that destination, fact sheets and everything. We're launching that in a couple of weeks, and we're going to do a webinar on Zanzibar and Pemba, where I've got a brilliant DMC who's going to co-present it with me, just talking about Zanzibar, different areas, and also Pemba as well. So we're focusing much more on destination rather than just focusing on the smaller marketing hotels. So that's called the Africa Hub. So watch out for that, because we'll be launching it in the next couple of weeks. But thank you so much for sticking with me, and I'm sorry for the glitch halfway through. And I will yeah, I'm sorry about that, but I'm very impressed that so many of you actually stuck with me and stayed to the end. So thank you for that. And we'll see you. Our webinar next week is on Namibia with Ultimate Safaris. So make sure you tune in for that. That's going to be brilliant with Birgit from Ultimate Safaris in Namibia. So I will look forward to seeing you all then. Thanks so much.